But let's talk about the book more. So, why did you structure it the way that you did in regards to kind of how I always refer to it kind of like the plane takes off, and then the plane lands, right? So, why did you write it in the order that you did? And can you kind of walk us through the word for word? Can you just read the whole book to us right now?
But there's really 3 parts to the book,
Hmm.
okay? There's two smaller parts at the beginning and the end, and then a pretty big midsection. So the first part is really about recognizing what our role is in the discipleship process of our kids and taking on that identity. So most of us just don't think that way as parents, and we need to be reminded of what that means to take on that identity, but especially in the context of youth sports, where it's so easy just to leave our Christianity in the car in the parking lot and, or at home or in the church, or, wherever we're leaving it behind. And so we're just kind of wanting to remind ourselves and kind of reignite that really excitement that you get to play a role and you have access to play a role that nobody else does in quite the same way. But you're doing it in the midst of, Brian already said this, in the midst of a $40 billion industry that's got its own values and is already discipling both you and your child to think a certain way. Again, most of us don't usually think about that. We're not aware of the fact that the implications of being taught that winning is the only thing that matters, which is what we're being told all the time from ESPN, all the way down to a 6-year-old soccer game at the YMCA. Winning is all that matters. And that starts to wear on us in such a way that we start to teach things that maybe we don't even really believe ourselves at our core. So the beginning is just to become aware of how that's happening and why, how that $40 billion industry got shaped in the first place. That's actually one of my favorite chapters, is just understanding the history of how we got here
And that was awesome.
and just becoming aware. That's really what those first 2 chapters are. They're awareness chapters. And then we transition into the guts of it. And I'll pass the mic to Brian to talk about that, which is really the core of what the book is.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. The middle section is titled Sport Formation versus Spiritual Formation. And again, I talked about this at the beginning, that sport culture is discipling us in one direction. And what we're trying to tell parents in the book is that it's actually deforming us. Like, if you really look at the values of sport culture, it's encouraging things like self-centeredness. It is making us into an anxious people. It is making us maybe lean more towards things like pride and entitlement and an overemphasis on winning. And so what we're trying to do in these middle chapters is say, left unchecked, if you don't intervene in the process, your kid, through all this investment you're putting into youth sport, is being taught these things, is embodying these types of things from sport. Here's what the Bible would say we should be forming them in. And sport actually offers us really good opportunities to take what we're seeing on the field and grow things in them, like love and peace and self-control and fun and joy. We just have to be playing from a different scoreboard than the rest of the world. And so those middle chapters are really helping parents see things differently, and then giving just really practical tips on how they can begin coming alongside their kids and discipling them. The last section of the book is titled Game Day Discipleship. And so we have a chapter in there on, like, here's essentially how you should act on game day, before, during, and after the game, just basic tips on how to help position your kid to have fun, but also help you stay sane in the process. And the last chapter in there, and we I don't know, Ed, if we've ever really talked about this on a podcast, but this would probably be my favorite chapter. It's a theology of play. And so we finish with where we should start the process. And we're trying to communicate to Christian parents that when we uphold a high value of play, we're actually imaging God and essentially glorifying God, because we serve a God who is creative, a God who has the capacity for things like joy and play. And we kind of build that out biblically.
Yeah, delight.
Yeah.
Delight is a word
Delight.
that
Yeah.
comes up all the time.
Thank you. That's a word that we attach to it. If God has the capacity to delight, surely he has the capacity to play or enjoy it when his kids play. And so wanting to end the book and just encourage parents that when you prioritize play, you're not just helping your kids grow and disciple them, you're actually helping them to walk in how God created them.